Welcome to the 3134 Blueprint, a podcast created by students for students. Each semester, our class works together to bring you unique conversations on topics that matter, from mental health to motivation, personal growth, and the unexpected lessons we learn along the way. Each episode is led by a different group, diving into themes through their own lenses, sharing real stories, insights, and perspectives from the heart. Now, let's dive into today's episode, brought to you by Feel Good Friday, as they explore the social comparison theory and different ways it affects college students.
Hello guys, hope you guys have been having a great week. And today we're going to focus on the topic of social comparison and the different ways it affects college students.
Yeah, so some of the stuff that we're going to discuss this week are just how college students can compare themselves to others in academics, social well-being, their future career, and then also body image and on social media.
Starting off, I'm going to be talking about academics mostly. So for me, GPA can vary from majors, and some can be harder than others. So I feel like sometimes I'm comparing myself to let's say my friends who are in a mechanical bio majors and stuff like that. And I feel like you shouldn't really focus on that because 10 years down the road when you're doing your own job and stuff, that's not really going to matter. So just kind of focusing on what you're here to do is really important.
Yeah, and that being said, I think that just because of all the variance between majors, the way that these courses are set up are very different as well, and that can affect GPA. I know that I have some friends in CS, and they don't have as many participation grades, and a lot of their stuff is a lot more technical. So they'll be talking about getting a 65 on something, and it means something completely different than me getting a 65 on an assignment.
Yeah, for sure. I feel like especially there's kind of stigmas around certain majors and being in communication since it's not STEM. Kind of gets a bad rep, or people will make jokes that it's an easy major. But I feel like for myself, I just have to remind myself that, we said 10 years down the road, none of that's going to matter. You just have to do what's best for yourself. And then kind of getting into social well-being, this is a huge one in college. I feel like it's not talked enough a lot. You go from your senior year and you're super comfortable, you know what to expect. You've found your group of people. It's very predictable. And you hear all these great things about college, and not that college isn't great, but it's kind of no one talks about that it can be really hard to transition, especially for out-of-state students, international students, or from my personal experience, I just didn't have a lot of super close friends going to college with me. And I feel like it's really easy to fall into comparing yourself to the people around you and kind of wondering why, oh, they're making friends faster than me, or they have more friends than me. And obviously social media plays a huge part in that as well. And I feel like my best advice on that would just be to find some sense of community, especially Virginia Tech is a huge campus, any clubs, sports teams, sororities, fraternities, any type of organization that can kind of make it feel a little smaller can just help. Having fulfilling relationships, I think, makes it easier not to compare yourself to others.
Adding on to that, before we move on, especially I feel in high school and stuff, you kind of grew up with those people around you going through middle school and also high school as well. And then when you come here, there's a lot more people, different varieties and stuff like that. A lot of people in college are a lot more quiet and reserved in the classroom instead of kind of goofing off in high school, because it's also more serious too.
I mean, there are so many different paths that you can go down, once you first, step onto a college campus. And you shouldn't feel like you are different than anybody else because, everybody had that same experience of coming in. And maybe even if you were coming into a group or you did know some people, it's still completely different because they're in a different environment. While you're at school, there are just so many opportunities to try new things, and you don't have to stick with everything, but there are plenty of opportunities to find new people. Moving into kind of the next thing that we're going to talk about is kind of your finances and looking into the future with your career in college. Kind of what Meredith was saying, there is a stigma against certain majors, kind of in comm as well, that, if you're in engineering, this is what you're going to be doing. You're going to have an easier time finding an internship. You're going to have an easier time finding a higher paying job than if you are in communications. But I do think that if you look past just the major, there are so many other factors that contribute to finding an internship, to what you're doing in college to make money. It's easy to compare yourself to others who might be doing better than you in those aspects, but you also have to remember that they might have stuff going on in their lives that is making it easier for them than it is for you. You know, everybody has a different level of parental help. Everybody has a different level of time that they can use to work in college to help themselves out. And it's not fair to yourself to compare yourself to somebody that is doing so much better seemingly than you.
I definitely agree with that. I think it's really hard just because the idea of like finding careers and internships can get so stressful, especially like just like every year, like in college, it just feels like you're getting closer to like your future. It's definitely, there's like a lot of pressure on like having to like have a job at a certain time, having to find like a good enough internship. Again, I think it's just like you have to keep reminding yourself like everyone's on different timelines. Like there's no one like right way to do it. And like Will was saying, everyone has different circumstances and you don't need to like set yourself to like a certain standard. You just need to do what works for you.
Yeah, that's some really good stuff. And then also talking about how like I know a lot of people that are like older generation in my life that had a college major and then completely went to something else. So you never really know what to expect like in life, and it can definitely go like a lot of different ways. And the last topic that we're going to talk about is with social comparison is like body and physical image, and I feel like that also pertains to a lot of social media usage in our generation as well.
Yeah, I'll start with the first one. I feel like this is kind of normally more of like a girl thing. Like girls hear more about this. Is like, I know going into college, I heard so much about the freshman 15, which if you don't know what that is, it's basically this idea that you're going to gain 15 pounds your freshman year. And it was like, so, I mean, everyone on my hall, I remember all the girls were talking about it. It was always like, oh my gosh, like I shouldn't eat this at the dining hall. Like shouldn't do this. And that's just like a lot of pressure too, and can definitely kind of force people into like unhealthy habits, which aren't good, especially, you know, you're in like this whole new place and like it's kind of the first time like you're really fully responsible for like taking care of yourself. I feel like in high school, like my mom was always looking out for me, and now it's like you have to make sure that obviously you're having healthy habits. And I don't know, it's such a dumb idea too, because it's like obviously you're growing up and you're maturing and like people's like bodies change like naturally. And I feel like that idea is like really unhealthy for a lot of people.
Yeah, and I think all of this stuff just ties into how social media affects people's perception of self. And all of the stuff that we've discussed really ties into that idea, because it's been discussed by other groups, but social media, when you're posting yourself, you're really kind of putting your best foot forward and you're posting the best version of yourself. In all of these topics that we've discussed, you know, whether it's academics, if you're on LinkedIn, you're going to post, hey, I made the dean's list. If you're, you know, if you've gotten an internship, you might share that. And, you know, if you're going to the gym, you might have like an account where you post your lifting stuff. That being said, you're not going to post the stuff behind the scenes that you're doing, where maybe you failed a class, where maybe you were feeling a little bit left out socially. So you should just keep that in mind, that everybody's kind of going through similar things in regards to all of these topics, and that social media can be a little bit misleading at times.
Last thing I want to add is I feel like just us as human beings, we naturally kind of want to judge and compare ourselves to others and just see, like, for example, like age comparison, like how successful somebody is compared to another person. But at the end of the day, like we were all saying, like, you don't know what's going on at home. You don't know like how like they were set up in life and stuff like that. So really just overall having like a community just impact like all together to help each other out, I feel like is really important to help all of us as Virginia Tech students. Hope you guys enjoyed listening, and see you guys next week.